Hey y'all, thanks for tuning into another video. So today in church, I found out that I've been doing this surrender thing all wrong. And so let me explain. So while we're in church today, we were talking about how in order to receive his full covering, you have to surrender the things to him. And the depiction of that was the guest speaker who came today had a small umbrella and then one of those really large golf umbrellas. And so she was saying that oftentimes we try to do things in our own power, our own will, and that small umbrella is the only thing that's covering us when we don't realize that we could have that huge golf size umbrella if we just handed it over to him, because when we hand it over to him, then he takes the responsibility for the thing. And it got me thinking. And it especially got me thinking because, we often have conversations on my videos about how your core wounds can affect the way that you perceive the world around you and the way that you move in the world around you. And so what I gathered from that conversation in church today was that I've been doing this surrender thing all wrong. And now I understand why. You see, like when I walk through life, it looks like me doing everything in my will and power to make the thing happen, going through all the steps, enacting a plan, creating the plan, having this entire thing mapped out. And then if it doesn't happen, once I exhaust all measures, then I say, God, I need your help. And the reason it got me thinking about core wounds is because oftentimes we approach our relationship with God the same way that we approach our earthly relationships. So if you grew up in a household where you felt like you needed to be perfect, or you felt like you needed to just fly under the radar and do all the things the right way so that no one would have to be burdened by you or take any extra effort to help you through your experiences, like just be quiet and sit in the corner type of vibes. When you grew up that way, that's often the way when you don't truly understand the power of God, and when you don't truly understand your need to disconnect from every other experience that you've had with a relationship when it comes to your relationship with God, because he's not the same and that relationship isn't the same. You start to give him those earthly characteristics of the people around you. And so because I grew up in a household where it was like, try to figure it out on your own. And if you are in dire need and you can't do anything else, if you're in trouble and there's no solution in front of you, then that is when you call on the people around you. And I've brought that into my adulthood. So white knuckle everything, go into your experiences without ever needing anybody's help. Don't tell them what you're going through. Don't tell them your emotions, because you don't want to burden them with all of these things that you're experiencing. And then when you can't do it yourself, that's when you ask for help. And I oftentimes have taken that same approach when it comes to God. Like most recently, when trying to get the child support order to actually do something, because for the last several years I've been getting no monetary assistance. I was like, okay, here's a plan, here's what I do, here's what I need to enact. And y'all, like the plan is extensive, because if you've done anything inside of the legal system, you're really just a number. And I understand why, because these caseworkers get paid pennies to do what they do. And the amount of work that they have to do, especially when it's an interstate case and the person doesn't live in the same state as you, is astronomical. And I completely understand it. However, also, there are children and people who are in worse situations than I am, who just need the people inside of their case to work the case because they can't afford to function on their own. I'm blessed to not have that situation. However, it still is nice to know that you have something else to lean on, that there's another person who can help you. And so in that situation for 3 years, I white knuckled it. Like I prayed to God to say, why is this so hard? Right? Like why does everything have to be so difficult? Why do I have to be exhausted by things that should just be easy? And I just kept enacting the plan, talking to people that I knew could give me good advice, etc. And then eventually I was able to have some sort of solution come to fruition in this last month. But the reason that I believe that solution came to fruition within this last month was because I finally was like, I've done everything that I know how to do. I've sent all the emails. I've contacted all the people. I've done everything that ChatGPT says. I've done everything that Google says, and nothing is happening. And at that point is when I said, I need you to do it. Like, there's nothing that I'm going to be able to do that's going to bring this to a solution. So I need you to do it. I'm handing it over to you. And within a week, there was a solution to that situation. And that's my testimony. And I know that's not everybody's story, but that is the story for most things that I do in my life. I do them on my own. I enact the plan on my own. I research what needs to be done. And then during the process, I keep asking the question, why is this so hard? Why is this so heavy? Why is my burden so big? And I realized today that the reason that that is the case is because I'm trying to do everything on my own, fly under the radar so I'm not a burden to him, so that I don't annoy him with my asks and my requests, so that I'm not an annoyance to him or a frustration to him. And so to do everything in my earthly, humanly power to make it come to fruition. And then when it doesn't, or if it doesn't, then I call on him when I've exhausted everything. And that's not what surrender is supposed to look like. Surrender is supposed to look like there's this big thing that's coming. There's this big thing in front of me, but I know my God is bigger. So I'm going to hand it over to you so that you're responsible for the thing. And you tell me what parts of it you need me to enact here in human form, but the rest of it is going to be yours. And yes, I understand it to be true that some of the things that I enacted in the human form were some of the things that helped for this situation to come to its successful conclusion at the end. But it wasn't until I said, you take it because I don't know what else to do. But what if I started out the process that way? You take it because I know that you're going to do this the way that you can handle the burden and I can do the obedient task that you give me. And then another piece of this surrender thing that I know that I've been doing wrong is that there's a part of me that from my childhood just wanted to be the good girl, the girl that does everything right and gets the sticker or the gold star like we used to get in elementary school. So if you do everything that you're told, and if you do it in a way, even if you don't believe it fully, but if you do it in a way where no one has to be burdened or bothered by you, then you're perceived as somebody who's good. But when it comes to your relationship with God, that's not what makes you the good girl in his eyes. It doesn't make you the good person to say, I'll handle this on my own and I won't bother you with it until I have no more that I am capable of doing. It makes you the person who believes in his covering, who has faith in who he is and what he does, to hand it over to him first and say, I know that you are stronger than this. I have faith that you're going to do what you say you'll do. And I also want to be fully covered under these circumstances and believe that you will give me the steps in order for me to remain obedient for the things that I actually need to do, as opposed to praying over this thing once I've already done all the things that I can possibly do. And so we shouldn't even be trying to get the gold star. We shouldn't even be trying to get the good girl title. We shouldn't even be trying to be perceived and earn our love in such a way that we have to do something to gain it. Because the reality is that God loved us so much that he sent his son to die on the cross to save us of our sins. There's nothing that you have to do to earn that. It's already been done for you. You've already been covered by the blood. Now, your responsibility after that is to continue that covering by surrendering. And so when I thought about this, sitting in that church seat, I said, oh my gosh, I've been doing this wrong the whole time. I've been trying to get God to perceive me as the good one, the one who does everything right, the one who does everything perfectly, the one who does everything in alignment with all the steps that they've created. But he's asking me to surrender it all over to him so that he can take the burden and so that he can enact his plan and then hand me the things that will make me obedient to the plan. So if you're in a space today where you have been for months, maybe years, maybe decades, trying to understand why everything is so hard, there are a couple of things that I hope that you glean from this come to Jesus moment, quite literally that I had today, which is the first thing being, life isn't easy. And if it's hard, it's probably because there's something that he needs you to learn inside of that space, whether it's more faith, whether it's more tenacity, whether it's more long suffering, whether it's any of the fruits of the Spirit. If it's hard, there's probably something that you need inside of that space. But also the hard in your situation was never meant to be carried by you. It was always meant for you to have such a large faith, such a deep understanding, such a close relationship with God that you know that once it happens, once you know the heart is in front of you, that your first response is to hand it over to him and say, God, I trust you with this thing. I trust that you're going to come to a conclusion with this thing. I trust that there's a solution that you have already mapped out. I'm going to hand it over to you so that it now becomes your responsibility. And I'm going to sit under your covering while you give me the things that you want me to do. And I hope that this revelation for me becomes a revelation for you because you weren't meant to be exhausted by the weight of the world around you. You were meant to hand it to the one who has enough strength to be able to endure and do something with the situation, change it in a miraculous way. So I hope that this video resonated with you. Please like and subscribe to my channels. Share this so that my testimony may be the catalyst for change for you, but so that also somebody else can break free from the bondage that they're experiencing by trying to be the good girl and handle everything on their own, when really it's meant for you to surrender. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time.